ready to be ready to start recording. We're ready. We'd like everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't see a flag. Oh, there it is. Sorry. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We would like to call the City of Dayton Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Would you please call the roll?
Yes, please. Ms. Trutzel? Absent. Mr. Newman?
Here.
Mr. Scroggs? Okay, sorry, thank you. Mr. Huntley?
Here.
Ms. Barrett? Mr. Peters?
Here.
Mr. Sparks?
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Approval of the previous meeting minutes is the first order of business.
Okay, so you have your April 21st meeting minutes. They were in your prior packet, but there's also a copy over there on the table if you need it. It's about a page and a half.
The minutes have been previously distributed. If there's any errors, additions, deletions, does anybody have any changes to the minutes? Hearing none, receive a motion for adoption of the minutes as distributed. Motion, second?
I'll second.
Second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. But the minutes have been approved. New business? Cindy, do you want to
Okay.
start us off?
I will be happy to start you off. Okay. So let's go down. So I'm going to just kind of point out on our agenda tonight, just for those of you present to kind of be thinking, we've got a couple administrative items. We want to talk a little bit about our training materials, and we also want to talk about our election of officers when we get to the end of this meeting. So
Okay.
just get you thinking about that. Okay. So I'm going to go right into our first case, or actually our only case tonight, and this is file PZ-22-017. This is at 635 6th Street in Dayton, Kentucky. This is referred to the Burton Building or the Ramey Building. Our applicant is Burton Building LLC on behalf of Orleans Development, and the request is for approval of a mixed-use site redevelopment plan. This hearing was published in the Campbell County Recorder on April 21st and then again on May the 25th and mailed to the adjacent property owners. So let's talk a little bit about the site. It's kind of exciting to bring an active redevelopment site to the city of Dayton. This is one of the largest buildings in Dayton of the historical nature, and it's at the corner of 6th and Berry Avenue. So you probably came past it on your way here tonight. So I want to just kind of go through a little bit about the building if you're not familiar with it. This is a building, this is an older picture of it, but I just wanted to kind of tell you, it's kind of in three separate areas that we're going to be talking about. This is the main part of the building. My mouse is not going to work. Okay. Nope, my mouse doesn't show up. Okay. On the left side of your screen is the main portion of the building with the long windows. The center section where you kind of see a tower, that's largely the stairwell going up between the building. And then the far right section is what was once some administrative offices. So kind of this was, the building was built kind of 1880s. It was at one time Dayton City Hall. It was always it was originally constructed as a multi-purpose building. Basically the Berry side entrance, where there's that last tower, was the City of Dayton's administrative offices, the city clerk, the city marshal, the treasurer, the property assessor, the engineer was all in offices in that section. You go around to the 6th Street side, and there was initially a post office, a barber shop, a retail store, and some private offices. And then the 2nd and 3rd and 4th floors, which were a combination of things, were kind of offices and a hall. And at one point, it was kind of like an Odd Follows hall. It was also one of the original grocery stores in the city as well. So it's kind of neat. Lots of different uses. In recent years, it's not been as healthy as it's on its use. In recent years, a large part of the building has been vacated. The windows have been boarded up. The condition has really just been kind of falling down. One of the uses that were inside the building at one point in time was a carpet sales, and literally the inside of the building has carpeting all over everything. And I'm not exaggerating that. It was everywhere. The neat thing about that, though, is that carpet ironically preserved a bit of the building, because as those layers are peeled back off, we're finding things like the handrails are still there, and different ornate features that would have been common to 1880 are still intact. And they've also been able to find some of the remnants of things in the attic. So it's kind of exciting. Here's some pictures just to kind of, this was actually one of the pictures of City Hall when it was in use. And the school board actually met there as well. So a little bit of regulatory notes before we get too far down into this case is Planning and Zoning Commission did basically recommend and consider a text change to the central business district. This modified the text to allow residential uses on the first floor of a commercial building on non-primary facades. That's now gone to City Council and has been heard by City Council and adopted. So that's kind of important when we're going to be looking at this case. So I wanted to just note that to you. Okay, so let's kind of look at the redevelopment plan. So I kind of pointed out the 3 different areas for you. I kind of grabbed a different picture that actually does show you where it was a Kroger's food market at one point in time. And these are just some different angles of the property. So, know that I've got them here and they can come back to you if you need me to pull them up and look at them a little bit. I'm going to talk a little bit just about the general site area. The land use map for Dayton identifies this as the city's downtown core. The downtown core, that's basically your central business district along 6th Avenue. You can have a variety of mixed uses, including residential, commercial, civic. Typical uses: corner stores, restaurant, bakeries, small professional offices, retail, banking, and similar uses that serve your neighborhood. Okay. Pedestrian orientation is important in this corridor. This property is located in the central business district. It's approximately 0.13 acres. The development plans were submitted electronically, so we were able to zoom in and get whatever detail we needed out of it. The sidewalk encroachments do need to restore the steps on Berry Street, and I'll point that out to you in a minute. And a curb cut might be required on 6th Avenue. And I'll point that out to you in a minute as they go into that. I will note that encroachments, those need to be approved directly by the city. This body does not approve those encroachments. Okay. There are absolutely no changes to topography because this is a fully adaptive reuse building. And let's kind of, okay, so now I'm going to kind of walk you through what they want to do in the building itself. So the first floor, I'm going to start with the basement and just build up from there. Basement, not a whole lot going on. They're just leaving it as a basement. Okay. When we look at the 6th Street area side, we've got a little bit of variation in it. There's one building on the far left side. It's shown, my colors are showing up. It's shown in blue. That's kind of an add-on to the building. It's like a garage area. They would like a curb cut, and they possibly will need a curb cut in front of that, just to let that be a use coming into it. Then you've got the main floor of the building. They foresee that they could do up to 3 tenant spaces in there. It kind of depends on what tenant moves in, if it be 1, 2, or 3, or some combination of the above. There's a small little commercial space immediately behind that, which basically serves as access to a bathroom, but also just kind of a little maintenance area for the tenant spaces. And then you've got the stairwell that eventually will lead up to the apartment. We have 1 studio unit on that first floor. If you go back and look at the, go back here. When we go back and look at it, that's where the apartment entrances would be. This would be the one on the right. Okay, so that first floor is the only one that has a direct access out onto the street. Okay, they will need to fix the stairs in front of that a bit. That's part of that kind of encroachment that they'll need to work out with the city directly, to put the steps back in there. Okay, moving on up to the second floor. The second floor is where you would see, again, over in that tower area, another studio apartment. And then we get 3 units, which are actually loft units, because this is what the area in the building where you see the big windows that are long, that have been boarded up, but those will now be opened up and be kind of some natural lighting coming into some loft units. So this is the lower level of the loft units. And then when you go to the 3rd floor, we get the 2nd level of the loft units. So this is the same unit, but there's just a loft that's open to below. And then we get a 1-bedroom unit, which is a little bit bigger than the studios, back again in that tower section. So we get a 1-bedroom unit in there that actually does have, a bedroom with the door closing as opposed to a studio. So it's a bigger unit. And that's on the 3rd floor. We get to the 1st floor and we're back to 4 studio units on the 4th floor. That kind of gives you your outline of what's going on in the structure. Again, the apartments, Berry Street's going to serve as their primary entrance. The commercial activity is going to be primarily off of 6th Street. The building will be fully sprinklered. The existing building height will not be modified. The site historically has been served by on-street parking. And we're going to talk a little bit more about parking here in a minute. I think I've covered all of these items. Yeah, the site has been existing service provided with sanitation, stormwater, water, electric, and telephone. And those continue to be adequate. Okay, let's talk a little bit about parking, because this is probably the issue that you really do need to kind of focus on. The site historically, as I mentioned, has been served by on-street parking. And that's really how it's going to have to continue to be served. This is a parcel that has no off-street parking associated with it, and it has not had that over its life, which again goes back to 1880. The residential parking needs for this, if you follow your formula that's in your zoning, they would need 15 spaces. The commercial spaces need an additional 9 spaces. Because it's an adaptive reuse of an existing structure within the central business district, you automatically give a 50% credit for that, because you want to encourage those adaptive reuses of those structures for your zoning code. So this means that the site then gets a reduction down to 12 spaces. It's estimated that there's 8 to 9 spaces along the street frontage that are basically available. So when we measure the curb and where available parking is, we can 8 to 9 spaces. There are an additional 6 spaces that are available across the street along Berry. We also note that there's additional spaces available in 2 public lots along 6th Street, one at a distance of about 340 feet, another one's about 600 feet when you go down the street on those. So staff would state that there's no additional parking required for the proposed use, but I do need you as a planning commission to affirm that. And I'm kind of looking at the map over here. I'm going to get up and point up for a minute. So here's the building here. We've got one city lot that's about 340 feet here, and another city lot that full block away, which is about 600 feet. In terms of the parking, when we look along, there's one car that's parked there now, which when we look around this curve, and then also what you get on the other side of the area where there are there's no homes in that immediate area. So that's basically your city park area. And so it appears like there's good on-street parking. I feel comfortable with it being apartments with using the on-street parking. It's common for residents in Dayton to take advantage of that on-street parking. It would be a little bit different, I think, if it were condominiums.
Do we know what the commercial units are going to be utilized as?
We don't as yet. I know I believe our applicant is here and they may have some inkling at this point of what they're going to be, but I don't know that they've actually identified who those tenants are yet.
And my only other comment would be, would it be smart as in Newport or someplace like that to where you have the local parking, you have a little sticker that you put in your window or something, and from 6 p.m. until 6 a.m. it's designated street parking for those only, or is that something we would even discuss?
I don't think that's a planning commission issue. I think that's a city of Dayton city council issue. Historically, when you get sites like this, it does take a little bit of adjustment to try to work it out. There's lots of different things from a parking that they may look at. They may look at, if there's a handicap tenant in there, of actually putting in some designated handicap parking. They may, look at loading and unloading zones in front of the building. There's.
My only concern was it was our responsibility.
Yeah, no, it's not your responsibility at all.
I'm good with it then.
Okay.
It is my understanding there is no elevator connectivity to the apartment.
That is correct. It is a 3-story, so let's go back up. So it is 4 stories, okay? So you get the first level going up, and then you get into the second floor, which are loft units, so it's kind of a hybrid. And then, so that's part of that hybrid, but you get that is a 3rd floor walk up to the one unit in the back there. And then, so this is the one unit in the very back that, that's going to be, these units are going to be a 4th floor walk up. We do know that on the far side of the building, you can see an outline for the fire escape that is being restored as part of the project. So they do have to have a fire escape on this structure. One of the big interests from all of that is that the building is going to be sprinklered. I believe the developer is partnering with the Catalytic Fund to move forward with getting this building sprinklered, which I can tell you with the number of developments that we've talked about with this structure over the years, that has been the primary stumbling block, was getting that building sprinklered. And that's a huge hurdle to overcome. But there is no elevator planned in it. And it's not required because of the historic nature of the building.
All right. The fire escape plan, that is not something that we rule on. Who does that approval?
So that will be part of the building permit process, and the fire department is involved in that building permit process, but that'll come through as part of the construction plans.
Okay.
The developer has just indicated that in some of the early discussions, we talked about the stairwells and the need for stairwells, and it was indicated that the fire escape would need to stay. That was a discussion because of the historical views of the building, and it's like, no, we have to keep that. We have to keep a fire escape on it.
Okay.
But the current fire escape there is in need of some TLC.
Are there any other questions for Cindy from the commission?
Does the garage area, will that eliminate a parking spot with the curb cut?
It kind of depends on what they decide to use that. We did not count that area when we were counting parking spaces because we didn't know the active intent of it. They haven't really figured out what they're going to be doing. I mean, I would expect during renovation of the building. It'll be a bit of a construction laydown area with materials coming in that they can store in that section of it. But its ultimate intended use, it's still kind of vague. But I will tell you, having, this many units and commercial space in there, it's going to be nice to have a little space where you can get clunky.
We're ready for public comment. Would the applicant like to speak? All right, please, if you would tell us your name and the company you're representing.
You could
Is
please turn the
that
mic-
mic on?
There you go. With the red light on, no, keep pushing. you
There,
go.
now you're ready.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Hi, I'm Chelsea O'Connell. I work for Orleans Development in Covington. If you're not familiar with Orleans, we've developed about 300 residential units in the Northern Kentucky River cities and about 80,000 square feet of commercial space. Some of our, I guess like our biggest project in Campbell County is the Kent Lofts over in Bellevue, Kentucky. Similar adaptive reuse project where we took like a vacant building and turn it into 66 lofts. This is a little
Speak
bit
up real
smaller.
loudly. I think some of our people are having trouble hearing you behind you, that it isn't amplified.
Okay.
This is for
So,
recording purposes only.
okay, can I turn this up? Let's see.
Absolutely.
He should be able to turn it up back there.
Can you turn me up? Is that better?
It's for the audience sitting behind you.
Yeah, they're giving a thumbs up.
Is that good?
Okay.
Okay, awesome.
There we go.
So yeah, one of our biggest projects in Campbell County is Kent Lofts. So that was 66 units. We finished that a couple of years ago. Actually, I think it was 2020. Yeah, 2020, and we've been pretty much completely full since we started that project. We're really excited to come to Dayton. I think Cindy really pointed out, I mean, this is a keystone building for you guys, and it's super important for it to be developed. And we're really excited to be the ones to do that. So that's pretty much all. I think Cindy did a great job of representing the project. I'm happy to answer any questions you have about layout or anything.
Okay, thank you
You're
for your talk. We now open up the floor for the general public. We ask you to say your name, and so that we have record of who was here and who spoke at the meeting for the public record. If you would speak up loudly so the people here can hear, we would greatly appreciate it. Does anybody from the general public wish to speak for or against this project? Seeing no public comment. Yes, ma'am. Could you come to the mic so we can all hear?
Hi, I'm Beth Neiman. What do you want to know? You want my address?
No.
Okay. I just want to know the timeline for this project.
Speak to me, please, and
I
she'll
will-
answer for me.
Okay. I would like to know the timeline of this project and when we can expect to see completion roughly.
All right. Would you take the mic and please answer her question?
So timeline, we have been working on getting this building listed on the National Register of Historic Places. That is quite the endeavor to do. We were successful and we have it listed this year. So it was listed in January. We've been working on drawings and we're hoping to close on our financing in about hopefully 2 months. We really needed this. We need the go-ahead from you guys before we can really start pursuing financing. And then after that, once we close, we'll get started on construction. So probably 2 months to start construction. And then, construction is one of those things. I want to say a year, but we all know it's going to be like 18 months. So it's a year to a year and a half of construction, and then they'll be ready to lease.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
ahead.
Is that enough of an answer for you? Is
And-
there any other questions to be asked? Just to leave the general public know that if we approve this today, that this will be, then goes back to be, the minutes of this meeting will be presented to the city of Dayton. And I believe it takes 2 readings.
I'm going to correct here. And in this case, there is not a zone change.
All right,
So this is strictly a site development plan.
all right.
So the decision tonight the project is then able to approve for zoning and to move forward into construction plans.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So is anybody willing to make a proposal on this request?
I'm going to add a couple of things
Sure,
to it, just
please
to help clarify a couple of things, Mr. Do want to point out in terms of construction schedules, based on that, we are seeing significant delays in construction schedules right now. So I appreciate the motivation for 18 months, but it may be closer to 2 years in that time frame, because materials and we're just having material and labor issues. And that's not unique to anything with Orleans development. That is just the construction industry as a whole. So I just mentioned that. We talked about, I do want to we had one question that was still on the table by one of our commissioners, if we know of any of the intended uses on the first floor, or types of businesses that we may be targeting, if our applicant may want to entertain answering that.
So we do not have any tenants right now for the commercial spaces, but we are very open. Ideally, when we're thinking about development, in my perfect world, we'd have, maybe like a couple retail, maybe a cafe. Over in Covington, we did the Bradford building, and I was the project manager on that, and I was very specific about what commercial we wanted in there. We were a little picky, honestly. So we got Haven Cafe and Spa. So they do like healthy smoothies and coffee. And then we also have they do nails in another space. And then I have a boutique. So it just like really created this like vibrant block. And that's what we want to do for Dayton. So that's my goal. If you know anyone interested, let us know. We can split those up into 3. We can combine 2. But yeah, I don't think I have business cards, but maybe I could give my contact to everyone after.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Our recommendation for tonight, staff's recommendation, is to approve the submitted plan for the historic Ramey Burton building as a mixed use. The supporting information for this is the plan is consistent with the City of Dayton's zoning ordinance. The proposed redevelopment is consistent with recommendations from the City of Dayton's comprehensive plan, the subdivision regulations, and the zoning regulations, and we have given proper notice for this public meeting. I will point out to the applicant, as I mentioned earlier, that the redevelopment of the site has to comply with all City of Dayton ordinances, regulations, and building codes, and the sidewalk encroachments, in particular for egress, must be permitted by the City of Dayton directly. With that, Mr. Chair, I give it to you back for discussion.
All right. Any more discussion from the board?
I love the idea. I've seen this building every day, getting the boards out of the windows and bringing.
Please
some
turn your
life.
mic on.
I thought it was. Bringing some life. I don't know if it's going to work, but
Okay.
bringing life into that building's perfect. I mean, it's a cornerstone of Dayton. It's the beginning or the end, depending on which way you're coming, of the business district, and anything.
So you're making a
I
motion to
Motion
approve.
to approve.
All right. Is there a second? There's a second. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion passed unanimously.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right.
And thank you.
Is there any other business that you wish
Yes,
to
we
bring
do.
before the board?
I do.
Commission.
I just want to remind you of training opportunities. We know we're going to have some orientation training for a couple of new folks. We'll contact them directly for it. But as you do continuing education, you need to get 8 hours over a 2-year period. A lot of you do land use related, and it's very loose in your day jobs. Feel free to submit that to us for consideration. You can email myself or Emily on that, or give us a phone call. We'll also provide you opportunities every once in a while. So if you feel like you're not getting enough or you want more, a lot of times we'll give you self-study opportunities. We'll send an article to you. Feel free to read that article, go research it. come back and tell us that you did that. That's important, so we can calculate it into your training hours, okay?
All right.
And that, so I just want to kind of remind you on that.
I attended, when I first started, a conference that was put on by the state of Ohio.
Mhm.
Are they back to doing that yet?
They are. The Ohio chapter of there's two different, there's the American Planning Association, there's a Kentucky chapter and an Ohio chapter. And they do occasionally put training in that's local here. So every other year, we will see a class that's done in Ohio. It's over in Anderson Township. When that class becomes available, if you've got the time, it's usually on a Friday. I know it's an all-day class, but if you're in town and you've got the time available on Friday, that is an excellent class. And that will get you good for 2 years because it's an all-day session on it. Occasionally, we get one from Kentucky because the Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana planning groups do partner together and do kind of a mini regional conference. This year, the conference is in Louisville. So if you want to travel to that conference in Louisville, I can definitely set you up for it. It's a multiple day conference. When they have it in Northern Kentucky, which comes every 3 years, there's usually one day that's just dedicated to planning commissioners. And if you can attend that one day session, it's focused directly onto planning commissioners. That's a great opportunity as well. And we'll make sure to point out when those come up.
All right, thank you.
Okay. The next topic I have is your election of officers, and I know we're all the way into June, and it's like, gosh, and you feel like you just did this. We do need to at least reaffirm our slate of officers once a year. This is your current slate of officers. Mr. Peters is the chair. Mr. Barrett is the vice chair. You can affirm that you want to continue these or change those. I would recommend that you go ahead and do that tonight because we've tabled this topic a couple of times now.
I'm willing to stay on as chair unless someone really would like to have it. I have no qualms about keeping it.
Doing a great job.
You're doing fine.
All right.
Okay, and
Is Kells here this evening?
no.
No. So it's easy for us to affirm him.
I think if we can, somebody can always resign in mid-year if we need to. And that, but if you wanted to keep Mr. Barrett as your vice chair, that's fine. If you wanted to appoint someone else as vice chair, that's fine too.
Okay.
If he's watching at home, I think we should let him know.
That's your job.
By the way.
All right. I think we have covered that choice.
Okay, could we have a motion to reaffirm our current slate of officers?
I'll make a motion to go ahead and reaffirm our current slate of officers.
Okay,
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
all right, thank
Motion
you.
approved.
Thank you very much. Okay,
All right.
and that is all I have for you this evening.
Is there any other business to be brought before the Dayton Planning and Zoning Commission?
I have a question regarding summer schedule. Any ideas as we begin to travel in the summer, August, July, whether we need to hold sessions or not?
I do not believe that you're going to have a session for July. I reserve August as a possibility still, but I do not believe that you will have a session for July.
All right. Point of order, do we have to advertise the fact that we're not meeting in July?
No.
No. We can do that just on the
So
city's website.
you now have regularly scheduled meetings at a regular location. We will post on the city's website and post on the door when a meeting has no agenda, and your meetings are not held if there is no agenda. So you're good with that. If you
Okay.
were to have it on a different date, time, or location, then we would need to advertise it.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hearing and no more business, motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
I will second.
Second. All in favor may leave.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank yous for attending.